What is happening, people? We were just making a joke. If you are a Ricky Bobby fan, I was like, what do I do with my hands? So anyway, super excited you all are here. I am in Austria. We are in Austria right now. So it is 6 hours ahead of East Coast. So I already feel like I have lived 40 days today. It has been a really awesome launch already so far, like just the amount of support and the amount of love that is coming from the community at large. I'm just beside myself with gratitude. So when marketing wanted me to do this live, it was a 2-hour party and basically thanking all the people who have helped us along the way. And I said, but what's in it for the audience? Because if I'm that person, I don't want to sit and watch me flap my gums for 2 hours, and neither do you. So I decided to bring a bunch of people along that were crucial in getting this going. So we've got a handful of people, Mike from Brown, an LPCC program, Ted, Mel, and Elizabeth, who are part of my kind of inner circle mastermind. We've got Jay Wong from Podcast Your Brand, Amber Villauer from NG, who did the whole book launch. Her and her team have been amazing. We've got Ralph Lazaro from Spotify, who's handling the audiobook. And then, of course, we've got Terry Troutwine from EF Tours. And so if you know what's going on, everything we do here is donated. So it all goes to EF Tours. So I'm super excited to bring her on and let her tell you more about our partnership and a lot of cool stuff they have coming up. So I am here with Nicole, girlfriend, fiance, wife. And if you haven't been under a rock, you know we do everything together. And I thought rather than me tell you how all of this came to be, we'll do a little origin story. I'm going to let Nicole do it. So I have no idea what she's going to say, and I'm bracing myself.
Oh, all right. Well, thanks again, everybody, for being here. We're super excited to have you. It's been a long, productive 9 months. This turned into something we never imagined, and we are so grateful for that and for your support. Most people like to know, how did it even happen, and how did it happen so fast? If you know Roderick at all, you know he does everything quickly. So it's no surprise to a lot of us that we are here in 9 months already. We were sitting on a beach in Thailand in January of this year for my birthday vacation. I know a lot of you know we travel a lot, and a lot of times it's not vacation. This was a special request by me. I want to be on a beach. I'd like to read some books, and that's what we were doing. Of course, I was doing most of the resting. Roderick was making big plans, and this is a part of those big plans. So I'm in the middle of a book, and he just turned to me and said, let's just give it all away. And I just said, okay, what are we giving away? And he said, well, I want to write a book, and this is what I want it to be about. And I want to send kids on trips like I went on when we were in junior high. And I want all the proceeds from this book to go to that foundation. So let's come up with a name and let's do these things. And I said, okay, let's do the things. Here we are.
Oh, man. So
there's a lot more to it, but I could go on for days. If you know me, I could go on for days.
Yeah, that's true. That was very good. So let me tell you the question I get all the time. I've been on, 12 or 15 podcasts in the last month. And the question I always get is, where did the name come from? So $1 Million Flip Flops, and Mel, when she's on specifically, will remember when I shared in our coaching group the name, and the leader, we'll just say the leader of the group, said, well, that's stupid. Not in so many words. And I said, well, what's Google? What's Uber? What are all these other names? Who cares? It's a name. And the way it came to be, I'm a nonfiction nerd. I've probably read 500 nonfiction books at this point. And I was doing my pleasure reading per Nicole's request while we were in Thailand. And I was reading Mike Kim's book. You Are the Brand is the name of it. And there is
Where'd you get that book?
Oh, she got it for me. And there is an exercise in there where it just said, look around your immediate surroundings and find one thing that represents who you are. Well, flip-flops. I'm not known to wear foot prisons in any scenario. And that's winter, summer, building hot rods, building houses. It doesn't matter. I typically have flip-flops on. It's a really rare circumstance that I don't climbing mountains. I did the Grand Canyon in flip-flops. Anyway, so I was like, flip-flops. Yeah. How do I incorporate that? And then as well, everybody wants $1 million, give or take. And everybody wants to live in flip-flops. It means you're at the beach. It means you're doing something fun. It means you're not in some stuffy corporate environment. And so that's where the name was born, $1 Million Flip-Flops. And it was really interesting how it came to represent so much more. And I know the book, a lot of you are getting the book this week, or if you've followed along on any of the socials or any of the videos and stuff we put out. But it's all about change. My superpower for the last 20 years, if you will, has been the ability to recognize I need to change, make those changes really quickly, even if it's abruptly fast for some other people, and make that 180 if I need to. And so that's what the flip-flops represent. It's that ability. The millions came from the ability to change. And I think once you don't view change as something, it's not a negative, it's something that is useful, it's something that's needed, it's something that should be embraced, it really changes your outlook on what you're doing, whether it's your life or your business. It doesn't matter what the thing is. So I don't think people are afraid of change. I think people are afraid of making the wrong decision when they change. And that's really what we get into in the book. And that's what everything in it is designed to pull out of you. I just provide the framework. So what time is it? It's almost 10 after. So let me tell you a little bit about the waves method. So that's really the core of the book is this system. And just really quickly, the W is your why, A is authenticity, V is values, E is exploration, and S is statement or statement of purpose. And it was designed this way very specifically. And I'll give you some brief background on me. Lifelong entrepreneur, and this will all make sense in a minute. Lifelong entrepreneur, I was that kid that sold golf balls at the end of the street and started a fruit and vegetable stand at the end of my road and got in trouble for selling candy at school. And just always something. We didn't grow up with really much money. And I knew that if I wanted things, if I wanted a Nintendo, if I wanted a bike, I was going to have to figure out how to get those things on my own. And so I learned sales and just hustle and grit and grind at a really young age. And by the time I left, I went to University of Toledo. And by the time I left college and moved down to Charleston, South Carolina, I'd already had several businesses. I was running 2 at the time. I had the 4th generation Volkswagen. I developed an automotive part, long story there. I used to import aluminum from a guy named Helmut in China, and I was 19 years old. And I had a home theater and car audio business. So I sold wholesale cables. So 2 businesses. I'm happy. I'm now living in the palm trees. I'm out of the snow. And I was walking through the woods one day and ran into a new home sales development. And Lane, if you're watching this, hello. And I met Lane, who is still a lifelong friend and ended up being a work colleague. And I got a job. And that's the first dirty word we're going to talk about today is job. And I was 24 years old. I was making more in a month than my parents made in a year. I could buy anything I wanted, do anything I wanted, go anywhere I wanted. And I was absolutely miserable and hated my life. And I woke up every day with that sinking, is this all there is feeling? And long story short, at the tail end of some really deep soul searching, I kind of dove into those books. I said, I'm a nonfiction nerd. I dove into those books and I had to figure out how to get myself out of this place. And what it boiled down to was I was chasing the money. I wasn't doing the things that really fed my soul. And so I learned at a really young age that the money is not where it's at. You need it. You need to survive. You need, the basics. But if you're not happy at 100,000, you're not gonna be happy at 1 million. And I was fortunate to figure that out at a really young age. And the system that I developed for myself and just used it for myself. I'd tell buddies, but nobody knew that's what the waves method is. It wasn't called that at the time. It was just my decision filter, but it was how I made every decision in my business or my life. And when I looked over at Nicole that day in Thailand, if that's exactly what was on my mind at the time. It was, I've got this thing that has been really beneficial for me. I shouldn't just die with it. I shouldn't just go to my grave. And that's what I wanted the book to be about. And originally it was just me interviewing a bunch of my entrepreneur buddies around the world. And we'll talk a lot more about that when Amber comes on. But as it all developed, it just turned into this thing that I am very, very proud of. And I hope you all that are buying the book just get so much value out of it. And, I really hope that it changes the way you view your life and your business and your relationships. And, I tell people there's a book called The Death of Ivan Illich, and the main character, and this is a spoiler alert, so if you're going to read the book, turn your head. The main character, Ivan, is on his deathbed, and he looks up at his wife and he says, "What if my whole life was wrong?" And I read that, and I never, ever wanted to feel that way. And so I've designed a life, right, wrong, or indifferent, that I'm really proud of. And if I died tomorrow, I really did everything I wanted to do. And I don't know how many people can say that, but that's what I want for everyone. And it looks completely different for every one of you. And that's what this system allows you to do. It gives you that glimpse, that crystal ball. So when I make this decision, is it going to be right? So ultimately, that's what the book's about. What do we have here? Thanks, Melissa. Okay. Nicole.
Yes.
Any questions?
Roderick.
She has to hear this stuff all the time. And I liken it to, what did I say last night? I was on another podcast, and I likened it to Mick Jagger.
Oh, yeah.
Singing on stage, start me up. And his wife's just like, fuck, I get it, man. Like, start me up. I'll never stop. So anyway.
Luckily for you, I don't really ever get tired of hearing you talk. Or looking in your eyes while you're talking.
Oh boy. Getting into the mushy stuff. Let's not go there. So,
but no, honestly, I can't think of any questions off the top of my head right now, but, I'm going to say see ya for right now. I'm going to step out while Roderick finishes, the rest of the live with some pretty amazing people. I'm going to step back in later. And I guess all I really want to say before I leave is I'm really proud of you. I love you.
Oh,
and
love you too.
Good luck.
All right, guys. So we have got, and it's nice seeing everybody. Hey, Alexis. Hey, Matthew, Jennifer. All right, Amber. Ryan, Darby, Kayla, Neil. All right, Christy. Good to see you guys. I'm really excited to bring some of these guests on. I don't want to steal any of their thunder, but I will say that as this thing developed, it was an idea, and you'll hear me say pretty often, with a big enough why, any how is possible. And that's why the why is the W in waves is the very first thing we do. And I had no idea how I was going to achieve any of this. I had no idea what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to write a book. I knew I wanted to get what was inside of me out. Don't die with my music still in me. I knew I wanted to donate it all. I knew I wanted to send kids abroad on that same trip I went on when I was a kid. And we'll talk about that with Terry when she comes on. But I think the lesson for me was just being really willing to walk through open doors that felt right. I had no idea what the direction was going to go. I could not have told you in a 12-mile chance that this is what I would be doing right now in January of this year. There's just absolutely no way. I couldn't have told you I would write a book that more than 5 people would buy. And Alexis just told me that we might have hit a pretty important number. I don't want to share it. She's clapping in the background. I don't want to share it just yet. But the fact that what this little soul has to say is resonating with anyone, much less the public at large, is just I'm beside myself with gratitude, I guess. And what I want to share on just that note is just not being afraid to walk through those doors. You know, there's a chapter in the book about finding your tribe. There's a chapter about your inner critic and your saboteur and these things that hold us back. And we all have these dreams. You're thinking of it right now as I bring that up. You're thinking of a dream that you haven't done. And my purpose for the next however long I'm here, 40, 50 years, is to make sure you go after that. And there's just no other way to put it. So we still don't have Mike, do we? Is he coming on at 20 after? So anyway, what do we have for questions here? Just a bunch. Congrats. Mike is there, Alexis, in the comments. So if he's available now, or if Mike, you're watching, if you want to hop into the my man, hop into the back room. Yes, Melissa, there are no coincidences. Thanks, Ezra. Good to see you. Kat. Oh man, I can't keep up with the chat and talk at the same time. I don't know how people do it. So we're gonna get Mike in here. I will give you a little primer on who he is. Hey, Gary. I was looking for a coaching program, and I knew I wanted to be a professional coach. I knew that term sometimes is used loosely these days. And so I looked for what is the highest end thing I can do? What carries the most weight? If I tell somebody I'm a coach and they go, oh yeah, everybody, and apologies if this is you, but when I hear the term life coach, when other people hear it, I imagine a 24-year-old yoga student with nothing else to do that's going to tell me how to live my life. And that is not meant to be derogatory. I think that's just what people think when they hear that. So Mike, the comment, or you got that, Alexis? All right. So I looked at a handful of programs, and I ended up with Brown University. And what Mike and Aaron Hutchins have put together at Brown is nothing short of amazing. And I'll let him tell you a little bit more about the program and what they offer. And if you've ever been interested in that, it might be something that you want to think about doing for yourself. But I will tell you that I went into that program not expecting that it would be just me as, a professional coach, and that's neat and that's what I do. It was just, I want to do this for myself. There was no business side to it at all. And I remember telling Nick before I signed up, I said, if I get one nugget out of this thing, it was going to be worth the price of admission. So I use the term nuggetful a lot. It's not a word. And I got so many nuggets out of my time at Brown. It's really hard to put into words, and we can bring Mike in. But the connections that I made, the folks that I met, I use the term life-changing in the book, and I don't use that loosely. It was really an experience that I'm very happy I undertook. So Mike Hutchins, you audio buddy, are we on?
You tell me.
Oh man, you're on a Ferris wheel. There you are. All
there
right,
you go. How you doing?
So I am great, man. Thanks so much. I know you are super slam busy last time we talked with all the cohorts, but yeah, I appreciate you taking 10 minutes. So
you're welcome.
Tell me what I gave you a little bit of an intro, but if you can just tell the folks who are interested that are listening kind of what's the program about? How if I'm coming to you, how would you sell it to me?
Yeah, it's it's a leadership coaching program. So it focuses on leadership. So the idea is that people that come into the program are looking to do something in the world. And that could range from societal change. They feel inspired to make a change within their community, or it could be within the corporate setting as well. It really, we take a very broad view of leadership. And obviously, Roderick, for you coming into the program as an entrepreneur, we do get a good number of, well, some entrepreneurs, not that many. And I always think entrepreneurs I think leadership for most folks out there is incredibly challenging, and especially in the sort of dynamic. I know the world's always changing. Everyone says, oh, unprecedented change, but there really is a lot going on out there right now, geopolitically, societally, economically, COVIDly, like you name it. There's all sorts of stuff that's been going on in the last few years. And, I think leaders are really having a hard time with that. And I think there's an extra. Can you hear me?
There you go. Yeah, you're just covering it up. Good.
Oh.
You're good.
And I think for entrepreneurs, it's an extra layer of, getting yourself out there. I think there's an extra layer of vulnerability that goes with entrepreneurship beyond what most leaders do. So, and for me, setting up ACT, it started from scratch. Really, it was nothing to start with. Like everything, it always starts from an idea. And so there's a lot of vulnerability, a lot of questioning, a lot of doubt. And coaching for me was really helpful as a way to stay connected to values, purpose, things that really were important to me, that kind of got me through some of the hard times where, especially societally, I think, there's just an expectation, and I get more of this. And I think in North America, it's like, what do you do? It's like one of the first things people ask you.
Yeah, sure.
A lot of folks around are in very stable careers and all of that. And when you don't have that, you say, oh, I'm an entrepreneur. And you think, well, am I an entrepreneur? Or am I unemployed? Like, where am I right now? And it's tough, and you got to see through that. And the only person that you can work with is yourself. Like, no matter how much reassurance other people give you, there's good mentors out there. Coaches are phenomenally helpful, but ultimately it really is down to you. And I think that's where a coaching program, it focuses on doing your own work, personal transformation. And as you develop your own resilience and capacity to work through that and your relationship to vulnerability, then I think it really helps to serve other people as well, which I know, Roderick's a lot of what you're trying to do with your work.
Yeah, no, that's a great explanation. I lost you guys. Hold on. I'll get there eventually. I'll keep talking. But I think what people don't understand about certainly this program is the time you spend with the other. I always call them the kids, even though they're not kids, but the time you spend just learning from the other people in the cohort and how impactful that is, just having somebody talk to you for an hour or listen to you for an hour. And, you find that you don't really get that in everyday life. Most people are, I'm going to put you on the Ferris wheel now, like you were, Mike. Most people are listening to respond. And I think when you're in a group like we were, and I know we all think that our cohort was special, and I'm sure they all think that their cohorts are special, but we were completely virtual because of COVID. And so I just met Ted, who will be on in a little bit. I just met him for the first time. He stopped by the house, the mountain house. And then I just met Lydia in Austria while we were here. So I have such a deep connection with these folks, and I've never met any of them in person. And I think if there's one thing that came from COVID, it's that I think we're more willing to not really know somebody and really get to know them well. Like people that you just like Alexis that's running this thing, Amber, like all the people who have helped with this process. I haven't met most of them in person, and I may never. So it's just such a neat process. And to your point about vulnerability, there is no way I would be doing what I'm doing right now. I mean, entrepreneurs, I know I was this way, and I probably know 1,000 entrepreneurs, and they're all wired about the same way. Like they're not into public facing anything. the reason they're business owners is because they just kind of want to do their thing, and they don't want to be in front of people. So this is completely being on a live with people for 2 hours, like completely out of my world, making all these videos, completely out of my world. And it's one more thing that your program, Mike, that built in me that it wouldn't, that you probably don't sell on a pamphlet somewhere, but it's one of those tools that will benefit me for the rest of my life. That was just this extra thing that came out of my time in the program.
Yeah, good to hear. Well, I think it was Alexis, just there's a comment a minute, the first thing you ask is, what are you passionate about versus what is it that you do? I genuinely think the world would be a better place if people focus more on, finding what that passion is. And certainly having been a coach for many years and coached, I think I've got like 2,500 hours of coaching. So that's a lot of people that I've talked to over the years of all ages and genders and everything else, and different backgrounds. And there is so much regret for folks when they get to a certain point in their life and realize that they just went into a path because it sounded like it was the right thing to do, or societally it was acceptable. A lot of people in professional service firms, and it's like you sort of get, spat out at some point, and you don't always land well. It's like, and it's like, oh, wow, what was that about for the last 20 years? Kids have grown up, and I probably spent a lot of what I earned, wasted a lot of it because I didn't really know what to do. And it's like, what do I do now? And there's a lot of that out there. So, I think just finding what it is that you're in, and something that should probably be more in the school systems is really looking at identifying the things that, whatever it is unique for you that you're passionate about. And I think financially, whatever that is, you'll make it work. Right.
Yeah, that's so true. We are not taught these things at all. Certainly not in Western society, and to our own detriment. So what would you say? I'll let you go. I know you're on a tight schedule today, but what would you say is the number one? It's an unfair question because you are a coach, and I probably look at it differently because I came out of sports, right? So you understand you need a coach. You need somebody to see what you're doing from the outside. You can't see your own scenario ever, right? You can't see the label from inside the bottle. But if someone comes to you to say, I have no idea what coaching is about, why do I need one? I've done fine. Why do I need a coach?
Yeah. I think as human beings, we say we're naturally creative, resourceful, and whole. And I think we have the capacity to be that way. And I also think to some extent we're flawed, and that there is, whether it's societally or neurologically, the way that we've evolved, we are our own worst enemy in many ways. And so coaching really is potential. It's like, how do you live, your best self? And I think as humans, we're not always able to do that ourselves. And, I think a lot of that's to do with how we're raised. I think a lot of it's to do with our education systems. We don't really develop that resilience and that capacity to connect with all those different parts of ourselves. So coaching is a way to help get connected to that. And I think that's what a good coach can do very well.
Yeah, very well put. Well, with that, buddy, I'll let you go. I'll let you get back to doing what you do.
Yeah, I've actually got a print run. I shouldn't be still doing this, but I am. It's like we made a bunch of changes to our content, and we got 5 or 6 cohorts starting in the next 2 weeks, and literally we got to get it to the printers by noon today. So
man, it means a lot.
Yeah, thank you so much, Roderick, and proud of you and all the great work that you're doing. And thank you, everybody that's listening.
All right, cheers, brother. Take care.
Take care, buddy. Bye.
All right. So I think Mel is trying to line up our next 2 guests. She's here. Yes, Kat, right? So let me give a shout out to Kat too, Kat Connect. So she was very much part of this process when I was trying to really niche down. And if you're not in this industry, that might not mean a whole lot to you, but the basis is if you serve everyone, you serve no one, right? So Kat was, among other things, instrumental in pulling that out of me. Kat was my coach for more than a year, and couldn't have done it without her. This thing would look very different had Kat not been in my life. So all right. So let me tell you a little bit about, before we bring in a couple other folks. And I think Mike hit on it a little bit, but it's surrounding yourself with like-minded people. And if you follow me on any of the socials, so it's at $1 Million Flip-Flops, if anybody cares to do so. I was walking around, we're in Austria if you joined late, and I was walking around these Mirabelle Gardens and Palace, which is next to our hotel here. So I think it was yesterday morning. And I woke up with this thought about cheerleaders versus supporters and why you need both in your life, what the distinction is between those two things, and how you really need to focus on getting more supporters in your life. And I'll just tell you really briefly, it turned into like a 10-minute video that'll be on my shorts probably later this week. Darby, thank you. Excuse me. So the principle really is that, cheerleaders are the ones, and I use the book as the example because it's the easy one right now. I'm on hour 12 today, which is why I'm losing my voice. But the cheerleaders are the ones that say, "Oh my God, you're writing a book. That's amazing." And you say, "Yeah." They go, "Oh man, what's it about?" "Oh yeah, people are going to love that." And then it's today and it's time to go buy the book. And they go, "Well, I'm not going to buy it. I just think it's a really great idea." So that's a cheerleader. And a supporter are the ones that they're typically quiet. They typically give you advice you might not want to hear. They don't just think every idea is a good idea because it's coming out of your mouth. They give you constructive criticism, and they actually, and those people aren't as plentiful, we'll say, in the world as you think they might be. And there's a variety of ways you can get more of those people in your life. And if you want to find out, watch my story. There's my plug to follow my social medias. You're not going to find out more unless you follow the socials. But there's ways you can get more people like that in your life. And one of those ways is, and if you want to bring on Mel and Ted, Alexis, and Elizabeth, hi, is to you can join groups and you can have a mastermind. So I like to call Ted and Elizabeth and Mel kind of the inner circle for me. We meet every week and we have various names for our little tribe, but I'll let you guys introduce yourselves and kind of say where you're from. But I will just say that it's people like this that you need in your life that they're not cheerleaders, they're supporters. So I will start with Elizabeth. We'll go Elizabeth, Ted, Mel. So where are you calling from?
We are calling from Atlanta, but I hail from Connecticut.
All right.
And new coach and starting a new business in coaching.
My name's Ted. I live in Atlanta. My journey with Roderick started about a year and a half ago in a coaching course we took together. And I think he was one of the first people that I coached and vice versa. And I was like, oh, I like this guy. And we kept in touch after that course. And it's been amazing to watch this journey, Roderick. I love it. It's we're so excited, bought the book this morning. It's we love what you're doing, and we love that we're on the outside looking in, kind of. It's nice.
Not only are you
personally, you say inside.
Not only are you personally inspirational, but I love your message. I love how you put it together, and I honestly have a soft spot for the philanthropy aspect of it. Yeah. So we're on your train all
Well, I appreciate that. What about you, Mel? Where are you at today?
Hey, everybody. I'm Mel, and I'm calling in from Los Angeles, California. And it's such a bonus to be with you guys twice this week. I love it. Congratulations, Roderick.
Hey, thank you.
This is the best. Let's do this. I'm a coach that works with people around loss, and I have a company called Wishbone and I'm super excited to be here. Your book is so inspirational. I don't even know where to begin. I got to know Roderick through our mutual coach, Kat. Shout out to Kat. And got to know each other through that. And not only have you been such an inspiration to me, Roderick, but I think Nicole said it best in the very beginning. It's just like you do nothing slow. And I feel like my metaphor is I've just been this person where I'm like, I'm coming. I'm going to get there. And it's just, it's like I'm along for the ride. I mean, you say it in everything you do. It's like, get along for the journey. And while I'm working on my own ride and my own people and my own tribe and how I can help people, we all talk about it all the time, how we're all just trying to make this world a better place. And what a person to follow that, take that lead. And I'm right behind you, buddy. I love it. I love it.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Peter.
Perfect, Mel.
Well, I don't want, as much as I love hearing how great I am, I don't want to, I don't want to spend the whole time talking about that. Ted, you just missed Mike. I don't think you were on yet, but Mike was on ahead of you guys. So he gave a really good primer on Brown. So, and then Mel, I met through, it's mostly CTI folks that Kat works with. And I picked Kat very specifically because she was not Brown. That might have went against the rules, but I wanted to see a different viewpoint, because I had been immersed in that world for so long. So it was really good. So tell me, gosh, where would we even begin when it's public and it's not just our own little thing? I'm not sure what to talk about.
I think we're a microcosm for kind of what you just said that you like to get out in the world, right? We bring our own different perspectives, and you seeking somebody outside of Brown is just seeking enrichment, right? Intellectual enrichment, growth. And I welcome that. I think the more the merrier, all schools of thought, and then kind of form our own and go forward.
I think one thing that I learned from you, Roderick and Mel, is within coaching, there's many different modalities, and being exposed to them as coaches is important so that we're not just one track, that we actually understand, a little of the nuance involved there and some of the different perspectives.
Yeah, for sure. Mel?
All that early on.
Yeah. I mean, I think that with coaching, I think you bring so much of like, we all bring so much of our life experience, but we also bring in what our own coaching experience has. I think, we've all been coached ourselves, and we know the impact that it's had in our own lives and how it's given us the chance to just stop and listen to ourselves and trying to sort of guide people into that. Like, I think it was, who was it, Mike, that said, we're all naturally creative, resourceful, and whole. And reminding people that no matter what they're going through, which could be challenging or painful, or that they have the answers within. And I think just that alone, that intuitive knowledge is so helpful for people. And I just think it's just the most valuable thing. And I love getting to learn the way that you guys all have also, like the Brown way, the way that there's so many parallels. I mean, we talk about it all the time. Mm-hmm. Parallels between like CTI, which is Coactive Training Institute, which is where I went, versus where you guys went. And so I think that the coaching industry, the coaching modality in and of itself is doing such a beautiful job on aligning us all. And then of course, under the ICF, where we have, all the guidelines that we all have to follow. So I think that it's powerful. It's beautiful. I'm grateful for the training.
And evolving, right? I mean, this thing, it's definitely evolving. We for Elizabeth and I, we took the one-on-one coaching, which we love, right? That feeds us, and expanded that to what team coaching would look like. So we both, we went through the same course at Brown, and it actually challenges us a little bit more, I think, because there are more people involved. And I think intuitively it's a natural fit for us. Just taking our story and believe what you mentioned, Mel, believing that people have this within them. And you just take that to the team, right? So that the team is capable and whole and high performing.
Right.
It's not about any one person. It's not about, bringing everybody down. It's taking that one person, helping elevate them, or two people or three people, whatever it looks like.
Yeah.
And I love that journey.
Yes. That's exactly it. You took the words out of my mouth. I think like that's the premise of all coaching, regardless of whether you're doing corporate, team, individual, or where you came from in your background, is the complete belief that they have this within them, and they're in a struggle, or they're stuck, or they can't quite see it, and you're just kind of helping the pieces come together. But really, it's all in there, and that's the exciting part. It's just so gratifying to help somebody get to that journey. Like that's in the morning, the idea that this is the day their life's going to change. They're having that aha moment.
Well, and you're doing some good when you feel like, wow, I mean, we really kind of led that team to see their potential, and they say, but we're not done. We want you back. We're like, oh, us? Okay.
There's also a certain psychology, like when you start with the idea, somebody comes to you and you start the idea that you have complete confidence in them that they're going to get there. That in itself, people kind of rise to the expectation. They, the bar's already high because it's true. And so I think when people know that and they sense that you're confident, they bring their all. And then the coaching journey is just amazing at that point.
Yeah. I think there's something that, I talk about it in a few of my videos, but and actually, let me bring up two of them. So the how to find more supporters, one of the points is just listening to people, just actively listening to people. And when it comes time to support you in a venture, they won't know why they like you or why they think you're a good person, but it's simply because you listen to them, because it's such a rare gift that we offer each other, especially now in the 3-second culture we live in. But I think when you talk about the light bulbs going off, and it's 100% why I do what I do, why I wanted to go into coaching in the first place. And for people that don't know, I coached baseball for a long time in Charlotte, and I don't have any kids of my own, but I coached for over 10 years in Charlotte. And I had several kids go on to play Major League Baseball, and they would come up, catch me in the street and just say, Coach Roderick. And they'd fill me in on whatever was happening. And they'd say, you remember that time you told me XYZ? And I'm like, no, bro, I don't. I was, 5 hours a day, 5 days a week, 5 months a year. I mean, I spent just a colossal amount of time with these kids, and I love them to death, but I don't remember everything I said. And it was that off thing that I said, I was a pitching coach, and that I might've said down in the practice mound one day that changed their life. And the power of that, and I send it back to what Mike was talking about vulnerability, and knowing that your message, whatever your message is worth sharing. And I don't care if you've lived 12 years on this earth, you have something worth sharing that everyone can learn from. And all of us are so afraid to share anything because of what's the next troll on the internet going to say, because they wished they had done those things and they're taking it out on you. It doesn't matter, and I think something that's so great about our creator economy now is that we're willing to learn from people who are just a few steps ahead of us. And ultimately, those are the best people to learn from. I don't want to learn basketball from Michael Jordan if I don't know how to dribble. I want to learn from the kid down the street who also just learned how to dribble. And there's such, thank you, the world we live in now, that we can bring these things to each other in that way.
But you just said it, you listen intently and with curiosity and with authenticity, right? So that's going to create the trust space that you need to just bring exactly that. If people are fearful to express what's inside, they can be vulnerable in that space with you. And that's it right there.
Yeah, that trust piece is everything. And it's just like, if the motivation for all of us, which I think is just the beautiful gifts that we all have, and really nurturing people to bring what they have, because if this world, if we don't get the full expression of you, we need each other's full expression, and to stop hiding behind those masks that we put up, that we all do it. We just all do it by nature of being human and living on this earth. And so I think that's the beauty of it too, is just, it's like, bring your fullest self.
Yes.
And and that's what motivates me every day and waking up. And when you talk about the why, and we talk about it all the time, we talk about the waves method, Roderick, and your why, it's like, what gets you up in the morning, and what keeps you motivated. And this, I mean, not to get too meta, but what would this world be if we all could get out of our own way and bring our fullest expression?
Right. Absolutely.
It's an honor to do this. It's humbling and it's an honor.
Yeah.
Humbling. You nailed it there, Elizabeth, for sure. I think people when I talk about my why, obviously I ask about it all the time, so I get asked about it all the time, whether I want to or not. And it's so humbling is what made me think of it. It's just, I feel so fortunate to be able to engage with people in the way I do at the level that I do. And I think because you do this as a profession, you only get a handful of people like that in your we'll call it the real world, that you can really open up to, and to be able to have that kind of deep relationship with lots and lots of people is just, it's such a privilege, and I'm so grateful. And it's why I do what I do. And I like to say I get to see it on both sides of the wheel, because, you buy the book and that's great, and some money's going to come in, and then we donate the book money to the foundation, and then we get to send the kids, and then I get to watch the whole thing happen again. And it's like, yeah, I just literally get to live my dream every day. And I just, I pinch myself a lot.
Well, that's just it. Like, as much as it's humbling and we do this and we touch people's lives, you're doing it on a mass scale.
Right.
And that's just to be part of that is it's very exciting. It's a privilege, honestly.
So let me ask you guys a question. I know you have to go because you have class today. Aren't you in a class today or a group? So I'll ask a question to the three of you. I want your answer. I have to explain a lot what the difference between a coach and a consultant is to people. And I'm curious what you have to say about that. And I apologize because you didn't know any questions ahead of time. So if I'm putting you on the spot,
I'm going to give you my off the cuff. I think that on the one hand, a consultant brings their knowledge, and on the other hand, a coach extracts the knowledge of the client that they have. You bring your wisdom, the other you're extracting or helping to extract their wisdom.
I like that.
Yeah. For me, coaching is, I don't need to know anything about that person or the industry they're in. I don't need to be an expert in any of that. I'm there to be fully present and to listen and to believe in that person. And I think with consulting, then we're more asked for our expertise in a given industry or a given topic or whatever it is help us. You're the expert in this field. Whereas we believe the client is the expert.
Yeah.
When coaching.
Yeah. I mean, I think that, again, just giving them the support and the space so that they can just, it's that time and space so that they get extracting the information out of them, that they are so creative, resourceful, and whole, that they have all the answers, and really believing in them, because sometimes they're just, it's a little murky, it's a little mucky, you don't really know. And kind of like the blind spots that they might have too, like identifying some of those that they have is really, really important and useful. So I think that it's all you are is just a sort of a guide and sort of like show, letting them kind of go through what it is that they're trying to work through. It's a beautiful process. It's all them, and providing accountability if that's something that they want. It's like, we're in this together. They're not alone. I think sometimes just having that they don't feel alone in this, and that they have somebody who's championing them on, are all really useful tools. And then it's like, let's get into action and let's map that out. Because sometimes it's like, where do I start? It's like, we're going to do this together.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. No, that's
having someone in the corner all the time. Yeah. It's a great feeling, right? Having someone that believes in you totally all the time.
Yeah, the power of masterminds.
Right.
People that understand, especially as entrepreneurs. I know that I try to provide the thing that I wished I had for 20 years, and it's that person that you're alone a lot as an entrepreneur. To make business decisions and to handle things, and just having that person that understands the language and the words that are coming out of your mouth can be really powerful. So, guys, I'm going to let you go. I super appreciate you taking the time out of your day to be here, and all the love, and I will see you on Friday.
This was so great.
Yeah, you guys
good luck.
fill my
Everything
heart.
good.
Great to see
Thanks,
everybody.
guys.
Congratulations.
Yay.
Thank you. So, man, we got a rock star coming on next. Shame on those people who left early. I guess they'll get to watch the replay. But I wanted to talk about, we just talked about kind of groups and masterminds and why those things are important. But just real quick, I want to talk about values. And it's the V in waves. And again, it's why: authenticity, values, exploration, and statement. And I put authenticity in the middle of why and values, because when you do these exercises, we'll call them, when you do this inner work, you have to be doing it for yourself. You can't be doing it for your parents or your spouse or your pastor or your business partner. It's okay to be selfish. It's your life. And it very much comes from that. You have to fill your cup before you can fill others. And when I talk about values with people, there's a side benefit. It gives us this map that shows us where you want to go in your life, how you want to show up for yourself, for the world. And it builds this decision filter. And if I'm going to make a decision, I do some future visioning. What's that going to look like? Does it fit all these layers of the waves method? There's this side thing that comes from that. And it's the ability to recognize the values in someone else. And I liken it to, if you know the 5 love languages, I reference it in the book, because when there's acts of service and gift giving. We'll use 2 of the 5. And if I'm in sales and I'm showing up and I can't get through the gatekeeper and she just will not let me talk to the guy I need to talk to, and I keep bringing her donuts every time, donuts. And all she wants is some kind of, hey, can I help you with that? Some kind of act of service, whatever it is. That's the only way you're going to get through to her. And the values are very similar. Once you understand who you are as a person at a really deep level, it allows you to look for those things in other people, and it makes it easier to find your tribe. You don't end up partnering with the wrong people, whether it's relationships or business or otherwise. And you can typically tell, and I know the next 2 people who are coming up, this was very much true when we had our first calls together. But who's next? We're going to bring on Jay Wong. So I'll give you an intro on Jay, but when you look at your values and you end up hopping on a call with somebody that is going to help you in your business. And what Jay does is he helps with podcasts, and we've got a podcast coming out. It's going to launch November 8th. We're recording episodes right now, but you won't hear about it until November 8th unless you're on this call and you know it's coming. But my very first call, and I should back up and say that Jay came from Amber, who is on next, and that's circle of life continues. But the very first call with Jay, I knew he was the guy, and I tried to find every reason not to use him. I'm like, this is too easy. When the decision's that fast, you think, man, I'm doing something wrong, right? So I really try. I poked people, and I was like, why shouldn't I hire this guy to help me with my podcast? And I literally could not find one reason. So I want to bring Jay on if Jay is ready. Jay Wong,
I'm ready.
I could do an introduction, but you will do your own introduction so much better. So tell the world who you are.
Hey everyone, my name is Jay Wong. I am the CEO of Podcast Your Brand, and I get the fortunate opportunity of working with brands like Roderick's. And this is what my team and I do in and out. We're a podcast agency for a number of these companies where we look to leverage podcasting as a tool to be able to drive more traffic and sales to each respective brand. And obviously, a number of our clients, some of them sell services, some of them have books, some of them have digital products. And so we've done it long enough where we've seen all the different gambits, the back ends, and all the offers. And so it's always exciting putting together a custom show to be able to not just have your unique voice in the marketplace, but to really be able to leverage the consumer behavior of podcasting to drive people back to go, see your things and be a part of your community.
Yeah. So I don't know that I've even asked you this question, but how did you get into this as a career? What's the background there? And I can't believe I'm asking that question. I can't believe I haven't asked it before. We've been on the phone for hours. So.
Yeah. I think my journey, just like a lot of I think a lot of people that are in the midst of trying to find their voice and trying to figure out what's going to work for them in business, I have a very similar story to them in the sense that I tried a lot of different things. It's not that I didn't try, writing blogs. It's not that I didn't try, I know video now is a big part of podcasting, but I tried, YouTube and having shorter content. And I just found for me that the longer aspect, the longer form of podcasting, the connectivity, all those aspects. When I found podcasting back in 2016, I kind of fell in love with the medium more as a content creator than anything. More than this is pre, building up an email list, pre having an offer. And I loved podcasting for what it was, right? And I thought it was the biggest life hack, because it gave me a way of interacting. And I know you would look at it in a similar way, which is interacting with my favorite authors, my favorite, course creators, people that I've looked up to, whether they were in business or in different categories. It just gave me almost like a calling card to have them on the show and have a great platform. And so I taught myself how to growth hack the show simply because I didn't, have any funds, or, I was just starting out. And so we've kind of iterated, on that process over the last few years. And it was only last 4 years now that we've been running an agency where we've partnered with businesses at this level. But yeah, it started very kind of grassroots. But I always have that love, it's kind of combining like that art and science, right? It's like the art of fulfillment with like the science of achievement, right? And so for me, I love the art form more than the technical aspect of it, and I'm really grateful for obviously my team to be able to support in all those areas.
Awesome. Yeah, no, thanks for sharing that. And I still kick myself. I never asked you that question. I remember you sharing with me some pretty crazy podcast stats. And I know your service is a little different in that, it's basically white glove. I just have to sit down and flap my gums into a mic for a while, and then you handle the rest from there. And you also encouraged me from the outset to do basically a ton of podcasts. So for you guys, we're talking like 50 or 100 in the next year, that will start a slow drip on November 8th. But what were the stats you shared with me about like how many podcasts there are and what the average length, like how long does the average podcast host last in the space? And kind of just, where do you see the future of podcasts going? Because I'm very much that person that I've learned by audiobooks and podcasts. Like I've probably digested 10,000 hours of audiobooks and podcasts, so I get it. But so where's the industry going? Tell us more about that.
It's okay. It's a loaded question because I have many friends that are about to speak and get on stage in some of the world's, biggest marketing conferences. And I know what they're going to talk about. I know because, we're in similar masterminds, or we've shared kind of notes with each other. But just to go back really quick before even diving into that, I think I told you to do 50 to 100 because that really should be the metric that people start evaluating, especially in like the year 1, year 2, right? I think too many content creators, business owners, marketers, they get really, really held up in terms of like, okay, well, how many do I have to do? How long do they have to be, right? And I think you start kind of getting in your head a little bit, and it's like, well, how many downloads is qualified as good? How many views is qualified as good, right? We start asking ourselves these questions. And I think in reality, what you should really look at is how do I become prolific at my topic? And the only way to get to quality a lot of times is through the quantity, right? Yeah. And I think a lot of marketers they don't tell people that up front, right? And so it's kind of like, oh, I did a couple lives and it didn't work out the way I thought it would, right? I didn't get the result that the person on stage told me I was going to get. Or I did 4 reels and I'm not famous on Instagram. What's going on? Right? Instagram is broken, And so I think it's more like, why don't we just change the measurement and the the assessment of it is, hey, can I just put out 50 to 100 bad podcasts, right? Roderick, I want you to go out of your way to make the conversations even worse. You know what I mean? Start like, clapping in the middle of the interview. I don't know, right? Like set off alarms. Just try to go out of your way to make sure that it's as bad as possible, right? And I think that almost like makes it so it's like, oh, I'm actually gonna have fun. You know what I mean? I'm actually gonna be a little more human. I'm gonna like play into the energy more.
Right.
And so I think that's really important. Now, the stats on podcasting and so you could look this up, or you can look this up after if you're on the replay or what have you. But there are over 3 million podcasts on iTunes. It's a growing number, right? And a lot of times people hear stuff like that and they go, oh my goodness, maybe it's too late. I missed the boat on podcasting. You know what I mean? I thought about it 3 years ago. I didn't do it. Pandemic, all this stuff happening. My business is blowing up. I didn't do it. I missed the boat. Well, if you look up the term pod fading, it's like an astronomical number. Over, I think, 2/3 to closer to 80% of podcasts that can't make it past episode 8 to 10, right? And Roderick, I mean, I think we already talked about this, or you'll find out. We don't even launch a show until we have 8 to 10 episodes, right? Like ready to go in the inventory. Yeah. And it's a lot of times that happens because people will meet anywhere in life, a mastermind, they'll meet at a coffee shop, right? And they go, hey, we should have a podcast together, and it's a great idea. They get over on a weekend on Zoom or live, they do a couple episodes, but there's no system in play usually, right? They have no connection to the actual businesses or back ends of what they normally do, right? And so when they're done publishing those 1, 2, 3 episodes, the podcast naturally fizzles out, right? Yeah. And so for us, part of our work with a brand is, hey, we want to build you a sales machine through the podcast. But the way we're going to help you do that is in the beginning, we're going to want to get you into the top 100. Why does it really matter? Well, it's a vanity metric, but most of our clients use it as a positioning tool, right? If you're playing this game for the long term, 50 to 100 to 200 something episodes, let's just say, you're going to want to have a bigger platform to invite bigger guests on,
Absolutely.
Right? And so we want to do the top 100 aspect, but I also want to make sure out of the gate, we're beating all the odds. We're beating all the statistics, right? That's part of the reason why we also have 8 to 10, because I already know if you're working with us, in the worst case scenario, you're gonna be in the upper, you're already in the podcast at the top 10, 15% of podcasts that are actually active and doing something in the marketplace, right? And did that answer, I guess, some parts of your question?
Oh yeah, no,
dive into the future aspects of it.
Absolutely nails it. I think, when I started, if you go on my Instagram, I think it's still there as a reel, but I'm walking around Tokyo and I'm literally saying like, I'm terrible at video, but I know I have to do this. And I'm wandering around the streets, and, everybody listens to Gary Vee, or at least most people I know listen to Gary Vee. And he says, I'm going to give you all my best stuff. Why? Because I know you're not going to do it. And he tells you, you've got to do X, Y, Z 10 times a day for a year. And then you make, is it going to work or not? My buddy, Ian, back home, he's a really talented pinstriper. I'm into hot rods. Obviously they're in the background there. I have to keep seeing my 32 that I miss so dearly in the background, but right. He does pinstriping, and it's one of those things where it's fascinating to watch him do it on YouTube. So he does like a time lapse. He did one and he's like, nobody watched it. And I'm like, bro, you got to do 100 and then you determine if it's going to be successful. So I totally get it. You're 100% correct. So I know you've got to run. You're speaking today somewhere important. I won't give it away in case we're not supposed to, but I guess what thing would you leave us with? I do want to bring Amber on since we're all in good company here. But what thing, after you say hi to Amber, would you leave us with? Like a quote, a book? What's one thing would you do? Hey, Amber.
I'm so happy to be here. It's like my happy place. Go ahead, Jay.
What's up, Amber? What's up? So let me just go back really quick and answer the future aspect of it, because it's
Sure.
kind of like what's top of mind. I think what's probably most applicable if you're watching this and you're a business owner, you create content in any capacity whatsoever, which is pretty much every company these days, and you're thinking about incorporating podcasting or what have you. Here's what's going to happen, right? Which is the marketplace is going to tell you that short form video is the best organic strategy, which is true to a certain extent, right? You just go pull up Instagram, pull up TikTok, pull up any social media of choice, and you will see no shortage of that, right? And the only thing that my own perspective on this is that our clients do both audio and video. And we essentially, what we do is we use the short form to maximize the organic reach, simply because that's just what's working right now with the algorithm. If you're watching this 6 months from now, or maybe a year from now, I'm sure it's going to be something different. But right now, that's what's happening from an organic perspective. But the consumption, meaning, I was on a flight a couple weeks ago. My consumption on that flight wasn't short form content, right? It was listening to an audiobook. It was catching up on some of my favorite podcasts, right? The consumption data on the long form aspect for most of our clients still don't happen on video as much as they would like it to, because it's such a big burst of energy and effort, and you got to get the lighting and you got to look good, right? And you want it to work. And I'm not saying it doesn't, but I'm just saying from the consumption aspect, if you want your prospects, your listeners, people on your email list, people in your community to listen to the content, to actually internalize it, sit there with it, and be able to deep dive with you a little bit, I still think there's a very strong case for kind of that hybrid approach, right? Of audio, video, and you want to kind of take note of where the short form and long form is. So hopefully that answers your last question in terms of, what I would like leave people with. It's just, look beyond, I think, some of the current marketing trends. And I think that the statistics around consumer behavior of audio is still growing as strong, even though people aren't talking about podcasting as like, this like new media thing that they were talking about a few years ago. The consumer behavior of everybody else that's listening to it is still just as strong.
Yeah. Awesome insights, man. I appreciate you coming on. Amber, you want to say anything to Jay before he bounces?
Love you, man. Jay is also helping me with my podcast launch that will happen after Roderick. So he is definitely the one to go to if you want to do it right. If you're serious, if you want it to be top ranked, if you want the strategy behind it, excellent production value, he's the only one that I recommend. And so it's just a pleasure to unite you guys. And 2024, man, it's going to be epic.
It's going to be big. Appreciate
Awesome.
you, Jay.
Well, thanks, brother. I appreciate it. Go crush your talk.
Yeah. Appreciate you guys. And we'll chat soon, I'm sure.
All right. Take care.
Bye. Love that guy.
And
love this guy. Come on.
What are you doing?
I've been all like gooey and emotional this morning over like your results and the raves and the social media posts and the #1. And like, I'm not kidding you. I have been
She
emotional.
said it, Alexis. Did you hear that?
Huh?
Alexis, we weren't going to share that we hit #1, but now
I was just kidding. I'm sorry. It's not the world's biggest surprise. I guess I did mess it up. But if you go on Amazon, your book cover is all over this thing. I couldn't help it.
look at that.
Oh, I feel bad. Sorry.
No, you're fine. Well, and if you're still on this live, hey guys, you heard it here first. So we might not spread it on other channels right away, but
it does feel right that the news broke here between us. Okay.
Yes,
So
I would agree with that, because had I done this on my own, we would not be we wouldn't be here talking, and I certainly wouldn't be sharing that I was #1 on Amazon. So and I think that probably leads into what I really wanted you to bring to this audience, because I think there's 2 ways I want to go with this. And, obviously nobody had these questions and you didn't have them either. So apologies if you have to think for a minute.
I actually have questions for you too, but go ahead.
Oh yeah, you have read a bunch there. With AI is going to be my first question, because I've had countless people say, well, did you write the book? And I'm like, yeah, like all 60,000 words were these hands, like day after day after day.
That's brutal.
So yes, I did. And I was having a conversation with a friend, Emily, if she watches this. Hey, Emily. She's an artist, a brilliant artist. And we were just having this banter about AI. And I have a feeling, and I feel this way about books too, but I specifically feel this way about art. I am the guy that will buy the painting, not the print, because I believe that the artist transfers that energy of his life, whatever, that pen stroke, that paintbrush, to that canvas. And I think when you read a book that was artificially written, no matter how good it is or how good you teach AI to write it like you, we can all tell. And it's because you don't know why you can tell, but you can tell. And I think it's because the energy isn't further transferred to the person receiving it. And so that's my first question. I want to know your thoughts on that.
Yeah. Well, I think AI is very helpful for speeding up the process and helping to thought jog me, give me prompts for things that it's already content inside of me, but I just need help pulling it out. That's why we love book coaches and ghostwriters, because they're asking really interesting questions that reminds us of stories or teaching points or ideas that we can transfer into the book. I think it is a huge mistake for people to take it beyond that and use it as a way to write content on their behalf. And you can tell. And honestly, I think AI-driven content is just very generic. It's very kind of flowery, for lack of better words. Like there's no substance, there's no depth, there's no artistry to it. And to me, I think that's what's getting lost as people go out there as content creators using AI for everything. And it's really a disappointment. And it goes against everything that I personally believe in. I mean, I've been in the online world for 16 years. I have watched as the online world has created this spread of disconnection. And I'm over here, I'm one of the few marketers that's like, guys, this is an opportunity to reconnect with your tribe. You've got to understand what your values are. You have to speak in the language of your values. You need to open yourself up and share yourself with people, be authentic. And so now with AI, I'm thinking, okay, bigger uphill battle for myself now, but I'm determined. So you're right. I mean, could we use it maybe as a way of speeding up the process or giving us prompts, but please still write your own content. And I'm so proud of you when I look at your reels, when I look at your Instagram content, your book, everything that you're doing in Sasla, it's authentic. It really is. And you can tell. So bravo.
Well, thank you. So here's one that I'm interested to hear your perspective. And it was very similar to Nicole giving Jen's story. Instead of me telling how everything came together when I first came to you. And to give people some background, I had a pretty okay idea for a book. I had a pretty okay manuscript, and I was like, damn it, that means I really have to put my all into this thing. So it's not just going to be some 99 page ebook. It's going to be something real, and it's got to be something I'm proud of. So I need the best. It was very much the same way I picked Brown, the same way I picked Jay, all the same, right? How did it, from your perspective, what did that look like from day one intro call, which I heard you on JLD's podcast, by the way, which if I was on JLD Monday, which was such an honor. And then I called you up and we had an intro call, and it was similar to Jay Wong. I've done that deep dive into my values. I was like, I get this person. Like, she understands the words coming out of my mouth. So what did that look like from your end?
Well, it's funny. I actually, this morning, as I was getting ready before I took my son to school, I was just filled with this emotion and this appreciation for you. This is such a big moment in your life, and I get to be here for it. And it's so much of an honor for me to experience this day with you. And so I'm getting ready, and I'm like, I'm going to go back and listen to the first call that we ever had together. I don't think in 16 years with all of the clients that I've ever had, I don't think once I've done that, not once, but I did it today. And here I came in, usual Amber style, just the burst of energy that you even saw in this live stream. And I apologize to you because I had canceled our previous call, and we had sort of this like scheduling faux pas. And you came in and you said, well, let me tell you a little bit about my story. And we spent like the first 20 minutes of you telling me about your life and your vision, and you want to do these courses. And it was so cool for me to just almost get transported back into that moment, which I won't forget, because I'm sitting there taking all of these notes on my iPad, and I'm just one thing after another that you kept saying, it hit me, it resonated with me. Roderick and I both have cabins. We both love the forest. We both like there was
Can't forget Cutco.
Yeah, there was synergy there. There's synergy in Cutco, synergy in JLD, synergy in what he wants to do with his life. Just a lot of his beliefs and his stories from, when he was a young teen and he went abroad. That's what happened to me. I was raised by a single mom. She didn't have an abundance of cash laying around. It was a very big deal for her to get me to Italy for 2 weeks. And so there's just a lot of synergy. And I just remember feeling this calling of, Amber, you've got to put it all on the line, which I try to do every day anyway, but it felt bigger than that even, and more intense for me. And, I remember looking at your initial branding, and I remember looking at your initial book cover, and I thought,
You won't insult me. You can go ahead.
How do I navigate this? It needed a lot of help because, it wasn't Roderick. When I look at your branding now, I'm like, yep, that's Roderick. Like, that's him. He is so like cool. And there's just something very unique about your branding. And it was just cool to be a part of that early on. And what I really appreciated about you is you gave me your trust and you were all in. A lot of authors want to believe that they're all in. A lot of business owners want to believe that they're all in, but they're really not. And it's easy for them to make excuses, make mistakes. They procrastinate, they're disorganized, like whatever their stuff is. Your stuff comes up in this process. Writing a book is super, super, super hard. Like, honestly, try writing a book and you'll get a sense of it. But all of your stuff comes up, mindset issues, emotional, spiritual. And then this process of garnering support from your community and getting it out, it's nuts, you guys. But Roderick just kept really pushing himself. And he must have edited that back cover copy or that opening or the closing. I don't even know how many times. He just kept pushing himself. And he wanted it to be excellent. He wanted it to be the very best that it could be. Even down to this morning, he's been up all morning since really, really early, texting, saying thank you, pushing. And the cool thing about this is it's not even for him. He's pushing this hard to help people as part of his legacy and to give back. I mean, what a guy. I could literally probably write my own book as a case study on you and the way that you have treated my team. I mean, literally, you have fans for life on my team. I am constantly getting fangirl messages about how they want to work with you for life. They love you so much. And then even my strategic partners and Jay Wong and Katrina and the people that are in my world, and just opening that up to you and watching you take that and mutually reciprocate back with such love and abundance and respect and professionalism. It has been an absolute honor, and I will continue to personally push myself to get your message out and to be my best self for you, because that's what you do for the people around you, is you invite us all to rise. It's the best.
Well, I thank my mom for a lot of that. So, who I dedicate the book to. But
such an incredible dedication. That was one of the first things you said is, you said, I'm going to give you the first couple of chapters of the book, and I guarantee you're going to cry when you read the dedication. And I'm like, and you said, you even emphasized again, I guarantee you will cry. And yeah, he got me on the dedication.
I only said that because I've read it 100 times and I still cry when I read it. So
yeah.
Anyway, before we go too far down that road. So what would you, and thank you very much for the kind words. What would you say? So for folks, you touched on a little bit, hey, go write a book. I like to say I could write a book about writing a book at this point. I mean, I've been a writer for a long time. I've had a blog of, my last blog was readership, I think, in 50 plus countries. And I was touched that way, but this was a completely different experience. And it may be the content of what I'm writing that makes it a little bit different. I'm not writing Huck Finn, I'm writing about a deep dive into yourself. So in turn, I am doing that with myself every time I reread a sentence or a chapter or what have you. So what would you say the number one misconception is with somebody says, well, I'm going to write a book? Like what's the number one misconception? And then why do most of them never finish?
Number one, I don't know that I could come up with that, but I have a lot of them flooding in. I mean, people think that it's easy and fast to write a book. They think that, oh, I just need 3-4 months and I'll get it done. And I'm like, okay. I mean, and then when they get into the process, some people take 10 years to write their book. It's different than what you'd think because it does challenge you so much. Then people come in and think, oh, I'm going to be a New York Times selling author and sell millions of copies around the world in the first year. And I'm thinking, okay, okay. And I am a believer of people. Like I believe in breaking barriers and putting it all on the line, but I think they have no idea just how hard it is to sell books, especially now, especially post-pandemic. I mean, how many books do you have laying around that you've never read? I mean, we all have this overabundance of books. And unfortunately, there were a lot of companies, I won't name names, but there are a lot of companies that are a bigger believer in quantity and speed than they are quality. So you're getting a lot of people publishing books that are not good. And now we get nervous to buy books because we think those aren't going to be good either. It's very hard to find a really rich, good book. But those are the ones that continue to sell, by the way. Anybody can have a best-selling launch pretty much. Like if you do enough planning, you hustle enough, or you pay enough, like you can probably have a good launch. But the real indicator of somebody's success is what happens from here. I have zero concern about $1 million flip-flops because the book is freaking outrageously awesome. The content is there, and he's only going to amplify that through the podcast. I can't wait for the audiobook to release. I mean, this is just the beginning of something really big for Roderick and for this brand. But you've got to probably find an accountability coach to help you get the book done. Then you've got to create a marketing budget for it because it's not cheap. It's actually really expensive to launch a book. It blows people's mind. Like I wish that everybody had probably 6 figures plus to get this thing off the ground, between the branding and the website and the editor and then print production. Then you've got marketing, you've got your team. It shocks you. But if you have the right style launch, you're making that back tenfold, in year 1, probably. If you continue pushing that forward and you have a really great book. And I've seen people do far more than that even. So I'm not blowing smoke. I don't believe in people that do that online. I am a realist. But I think you need to give yourself a lot of runway and probably don't do the book unless you are really serious about moving this thing forward in a big way. That would be my advice. Just don't even do it.
Yeah. I mean, you nailed it. I mean, there's things that obviously I would never have considered, and why if I'm good at anything, it's knowing what I don't know and finding people who know that thing, no matter what it is. Yeah. So you were that person who knew that thing when it came to this book and all the other things around the book. So you should give yourself a lot of credit for how it turned out, because it wouldn't have turned out as well as it did. And not just for you, but the people you introduced me to. Ashley and Katrina and Megan and Alexis. And I mean, go on down the list of people that are now in my world that I'm so grateful for. But you're right. I think people have this misconception. I certainly did, that you write a book, you put it online, people come buy the book. And that is 100% not what happens. If you do that, you write a book, you put it online, and nobody buys the book but your grandma. And in a year, you've sold 12 books, and it's not reality. And I've been up, this is 13 hours just today. I mean, I always say it looks good on TV. We're in Vienna or in Salzburg, Austria. So I don't even know where I am. We're in Salzburg, Austria right now. And everyone sees, oh, he's on, look, he went to dinner. Look, he went to a palace, whatever. It's like, I've been working 16, 18 hours a day.
You've been working extremely hard.
Yeah, because
I even had to remind him to take a break today. I'm like, please take a beat, please.
So I'll tell you, and it goes back to your why. I do what I do every day, and I push myself this hard because the book has to do well so that all the other pieces do well, so that the foundation does well.
Yes.
And, we're going to have Terry on from EF Tours at the end here in maybe 20 minutes or so. And she's another one, she's just you and Jay and everybody, Mike, everybody that's been on, Melta, Elizabeth. It's just, you feel that synergy right out of the gate. And it's so important when you're doing something like this, because it is easy to get discouraged and to get frustrated. And I said to Nicole, I don't know how many times, like, I see why people's books don't get published. Like, I 1000% understand now why because even when you're done, you're not even close to done. You might be done writing the book, and that's 5% of the process. So,
I mean, all of the energy to get to this moment, and you're thinking this is day one of my book's journey. Really?
Yeah.
It's a lot.
You told me that from day one, and I'm like, okay. I'm like, no, I get it now. I get it now.
That's why I just have to say, before you boot me off of this thing, whenever we're done, that guys, those of you listening now or to the replay, I can't urge you enough. The best thing that you can be doing in this moment is to please order bulk copies of this book. I practice what I preach. I've ordered several copies leading up to this that I'm gifting out as friends. My hardcover should be arriving today. I'm going to keep it on my backdrop here forevermore. But just this morning, I ordered another 60 copies, and I'm going to gift them to everybody at an upcoming event that I'm running, that I asked this one to MC, because I believe in his message so much. I want him on stage speaking, influencing that audience. So getting bulk copies enables us to do more with the foundation and impact more people. It's not just the event. I mean, if you have a mastermind, if you have a church group, if you have a girls group, whatever kind of group that you have, the holidays are coming up, and a lot of people are hurting in the world right now. And I uniquely know this because probably 30, 40 calls a week, I sit here talking to people after people, and these are the people who are the leaders of everybody else. And a lot of people are hurting right now, and they need to go back and do this foundational work so that they can be that bright light in the world. So what better holiday gift are you giving to people than changing their life, by the way? So it's the bulk copies. It's then just recommending Roderick for podcast interviews or come speak on my stage. My core value, one of them is better together. And when he's talking about all the introductions that I've made, it's because I genuinely believe this wasn't me. It wasn't just him. It was a group effort. We have to band together and support each other now more than ever before. And if there is one person to really stand behind, it's this guy. It's Roderick. So you didn't know I was going to say that, but if I have the stage, baby, I am going to say it. I want everybody supporting you in a big, big way. It's important.
Well, I very much appreciate that. I know the bulk orders were really, again, I keep using the term grateful, but if you go on sendastudentleaderabroad.org, there's a special group of founding donors, and it was one day only. It's for today. So the people that are watching the live, the people that might catch the replay, but it was designed. There's 3 levels. There was 10 books, 30 books, and 100 books. And I thought I'll get, maybe I'll get one person at 100. I might get a couple people, here and there. And it was overwhelming, the number of people that came out and said, yeah, I'm going to give them away as gifts, or I'm going to give them to a prison, or I'm going to give them to the SBA, or, I know with the books, we said we have organizations that we can give the bulk orders to. And I'd like all of those to go to the EF, not the kids we're sending, but the ones that are doing gap years. That is a perfect time to engage with something like this when you're young. And I said it earlier in the hour, but the book starts with the Tolstoy and the death of Ivan Ilyich. And, I'm on my deathbed and I look up and what if my whole life was wrong? And the best time to figure that out is when you're 18, not when you're 78. And so anyway, I could go on for days, but the founding donors page, it was really meant for those people who believe in the vision. 10 years from now, if we hit our goals, this foundation will raise $4 billion in its lifetime. For me to hit my goal of 1 million kids abroad, that's $4 billion. So if I'm around for 40 years, it is shit pile of money. And everyone's going to think it's neat in a year, 5 years, 10 years, but it was, who are those people who saw the vision on day one before the first kid took flight? Like, that's what I'm about. So anyway, I think we have Ralph coming on. I haven't seen him yet, but so we could probably go. You have to run, Amber. Do you have an appointment?
I'm happy to keep going a little bit longer, because I wanted to ask you, what is one or some surprising moments in this process from you? I mean, basically I'll even say the beginning of the year when you were traveling and writing to now, like, what surprised you?
There's Ralph. He's coming on. So, which is good, because I don't want to answer your 400 questions you have written on that piece of paper.
I have so many. I'll ask you later.
No, we can go another couple minutes. The most surprising thing was the amount of editing. Are we talking about just the writing process?
Anything that comes up. But yeah, that was a big one.
I'll give you two. And actually, okay. Kat just said in the comments, I want to hear this. So, and she was around for part of this, but it was the editing process, and it was how difficult it is to get honest feedback from people.
No kidding.
And it's back to cheerleader versus supporter, which is, I've been talking about that a lot.
Such a good video, by the way. Yeah.
So again, follow me on the socials. You get to see it tomorrow. But
yes, you have to do that.
I'm very much I'm probably different in that respect to some degree. That's why I make decisions so fast, is because I'm not afraid to throw it out to a bunch of people. I'm not afraid for them to tell me I'm stupid, and I'll make different decisions. I'm open to criticism nearly all the time. And when you were writing this book, and I remember Kat telling me, like, and I didn't think about it this way, it's a really big ask to ask somebody to read anything at all. Because most people, to your point, have 20 books laying around they haven't read. So why are you going to read mine that isn't even done yet? And then to get the appropriate feedback so that I can make it better, because I want it to be good. I want you to tell. And I remember telling you early on, I said, the world's going to tell me if this thing sucks. So you got to tell me if it sucks now so I can make it better. And it was really hard. I probably asked 10 or 15 people to, read, and nobody read the whole thing, but, just chapters. And only a handful really gave me that constructive. Mark, who I coached baseball with for a long time, he's an editor. He did not want to take any credit for this. So unfortunately, he is not listed in the book, but it's a shout out to Mark. He's a professional editor, and he helped a ton. Kelly Keppel helped a ton. Nicole helped a ton. Like, she had to hear it and hear it and hear it and hear it and hear it.
Love Nicole.
I said earlier, it's like Mick Jagger's wife, having to hear "Start Me Up" for the 18,000th time. Like, I get it, bro. So to have those people that really gave you that honest feedback, and I would tell them, I don't need a pat on the back. Like, I need you to hit me upside the head. And that was probably the most surprising thing, was that it was harder to get that than you would have thought.
Yeah.
So.
Wow. Can I say I'm proud of you? I mean, it was so much work that you put into it. Your course is amazing. We've got other things in the lineup, so you definitely want to stay connected with Roderick on Instagram and also on YouTube, just wherever you enjoy content. But there's a lot. This is just the beginning. So I hope to see your book staying at #1 for a long time. And I'm just honored to share in this moment with you.
I still can't believe it. Thank you so much, Amber. Thank you to everyone at NGNG. I know a lot of you are watching right now. So thank you.
Yeah. All right. Have so much fun.
All right. I think we got Ralph. I'll give Ralph a little intro. So I've had a bunch of folks asking, Alexis, Ralph, you ready? Yeah, he's good. I've had a lot of people ask for the audiobook, and Jay and I were talking about it. Just how many people learn that way. And I'm that guy. I read a lot, but I also listen to a lot of books. I've probably listened to 25% as many as I've read, and same thing with podcasts. So Ralph and I connected years ago in Charlotte, and I want to say it was almost 15 years ago at this point. And you were working for Baker Taylor, I think, then. And then fast forward, he's a superstar and is way up there at Spotify. And reached out to
course.
me, reached out to me and said, hey, what are you doing for the audiobook? And I had no idea what you were doing at that point. I know you and Beth Ann are really into CrossFit, and you had a lot of stuff going around that, but I didn't really know what you're into. So maybe tell folks kind of what you do at Spotify and what the progression of that was, and then we'll talk about what you're doing with authors.
Yeah, sounds good. So I found my way to Spotify through an entrepreneurial journey, which is sort of a rare journey probably to be there. I was at Baker & Taylor, who is a large physical book distributor, distributing a lot of retailers, and sort of got my feet wet in the digital publishing space there. We were developing apps to integrate, actually embed audio and video into ebooks. And it was sort of before ebooks were even popular. We were doing it for PCs at the time. Like we were like, people are going to read on their laptop. And we're going to put video and audio in the book on their laptop. Then the iPad came out, and it was like, oh, no, they're going to do it on that. Actually, we're going to read on iPad. And then now today, people are reading on their iPhone, or on their phone, which is just crazy to me that we've gone to that place. But so at Baker & Taylor, got my feet wet in that area, and then hooked up with a guy named Mitch Kroll up here in Cleveland, Ohio. Another surprise journey that I was on. We were living in Charlotte. Go
Tribe. No big deal.
Yes, go Tribe for sure. Go Browns too, man. We're 1-0. You would have everybody. My 13-year-old son looked at me after the game this weekend. He's like, "Dad, we're going to the playoffs." I was like, "Oh man, you're 13, and they've already brainwashed you around here. One win means Super Bowl."
Sorry to interrupt. I want to go on a Cleveland tirade, but yeah.
Oh man. So met a guy that had a physical like audiobook MP3 player business and was wanting to get into pivot the company into tech, downloadable streaming. It was a time in 2012-ish where audiobooks were not that cool. It was more kind of an older demographic, buying, if you remember those 10 CDs in a pack and throwing them in, driving your RV cross country. It was definitely an older demographic. Audible really owned the space. And we decided there was an opportunity for us to work with the other big tech companies that were selling media, that were selling content, the Apples and Googles and those guys, and help do the heavy lifting for them to get them into the audiobook space. So started building a catalog, built the world's largest catalog of audiobooks. The name of that company was called Findaway, which is a whole nother topic we could go into on just company culture. And it's just an amazing place to have been and built a team there and had some success. And so we built this massive distribution network and started supporting Barnes & Noble, Apple, Google, big brands to deliver them audiobooks and integrate sort of the consumer experience to build a good consumer experience around audiobooks. And over these last 10 years, audiobooks have just been booming, and it's been fantastic. But along that journey, after we had sort of acquired what we felt like was the majority of content available out there, we realized there was also another category of self-published authors. And you have this massively growing audience of self-published authors, folks like yourself that have a great story to share and are writing a book. And this other medium of audio is a growing medium, and we want to be able to make it easier for somebody to be able to, produce that audiobook, because it's actually, someone like yourself, man, you should narrate your book because you'll crush it and people want to hear a voice. But then there's a lot of folks out there that are great at writing, and the idea of like producing something, especially when you start getting into like sci-fi, thriller, fantasy things where you really need like great actors to help your book come to life. It's a really challenging process for someone who's not a professional, production producer. So we built a platform. It's called Findaway Voices to help work with authors and help them produce their book. And then about a year and a half or so ago, almost 2 years ago now, we announced we were being acquired by Spotify, and we spent this last year or so integrating into the Spotify team. And what's amazing is you see what Spotify has done for creators in the podcast space, and how Spotify went from a brand that was not really known as a space that podcasters would flock to. It's now become a premier destination for podcasters. There's tons of tooling and services and merchandising and help with creation and help with connecting with your audience. And we're excited to now take all the things that we did as this little entrepreneurial shop called Findaway that helped become the world's largest. We became the epicenter of audiobooks, sort of behind the scenes, not consumer facing, but behind the scenes. Now to infuse that into Spotify and grab hold of what we call the Spotify superpowers there.
Yeah.
We're really excited about what the future looks like as we work with creators like yourself to help them, essentially build a business and grow their business on the Spotify platform and work with creators. So,
man, awesome. That was a really good. I don't even think we got that deep when we talked about doing the audiobook together. So that was a super good.
Are we done then?
No, I want to know if you made any headway getting Morgan Freeman to narrate my book.
So the interesting thing is there's actually what we have come upon is that you can easily find voice talent that sounds like those actors. Sometimes, and I'm telling you, we created a video for that old company I was saying about where we were like integrating audio and video. We created a video that was like Morgan Freeman, like bringing your book to life. Like I'm not in his voice. You can take that and run with that. But it was like, you can find actors that literally sound just like him.
Yeah.
Not saying that we didn't say it.
So I have a question for you, kind of as you're getting this thing off the ground. So, for me, I went with, I'll call them a smaller publisher, and I'm basically calling anything under like HarperCollins, let's say, is a smaller publisher. What's the demographic, I guess, of what you see coming into you? Is it more smaller, like you mentioned, kind of self-published people, or is it big name authors? Like, what's the mix there?
That are coming, when you say coming to me,
when they want to do an audiobook with Spotify, like where are they? Is it mostly the creator economy?
It's a good balance of both. It's still today a massive portion of the catalog is still provided by those and best-selling content is still coming through those big publishers, not unlike movie industry and music industry.
Sure.
But in the audiobook space, even more, we are really seeing the growth of the creator, right? And everything that we're building and a lot of these things, and a lot of the tooling and platform that we're investing in is about focus on that creator and helping that creator be able to build their voice on Spotify and to build a business on Spotify and reach a new audience, as well as provide services interactions with their current audience. So the creator community is growing. We're thrilled to get to support it. There still will always be a need for those larger houses, just like in other sectors where there is value to have a large publisher to work with. But for folks that want to take it and own it on their own and do their own thing, there's so much more tooling and opportunity available today that wasn't available 10, 15, 20 years ago. You sort of had to have that large publisher to reach any meaningful success. The checks that we're cutting today to some of these folks that are just at home self-published writers is awesome. It's really,
I love it. We were, when my mastermind was on with Mel, Elizabeth, and Ted, we were talking about how, there's such a space now for people to learn from people who are just a few steps ahead of them. And everyone's willing to do that. And you have the tools at your disposal now to bring those things to life if you choose to. And nobody wants to learn to play basketball from Michael Jordan, right? They don't want to learn to dribble from the great. So it's so awesome that there's companies like yours that are embracing that kind of, I don't want to call them smaller because the ideas aren't smaller, but somebody where you get that hand holding and you can come out and battle with the big boys, with your ideas too. It's a really neat time to be in.
Yeah. And I think it's a function of the market, of the way the world is working today too. You can spin up e-commerce platforms faster than ever. You can spin up websites and you can find various folks to kind of manage services for you today. Whereas, again, 10 plus years ago, you wanted to build an e-commerce website, you were hiring designers and hiring engineers. And today there's so much plug and play available out there that anybody can launch a tech platform, launch a business, in this case, write a book or create content, and to be able to find a place to make that content available, to help reach an audience and to plug in different tools and services that you want to help build yourself a successful business.
Yeah, for sure. So, buddy, I won't keep you too long. I just wanted to let people know kind of what you're up to. Can they just go on the Spotify website and figure out what's happening, or is it still kind of
today? You'll go to findawayvoices.com to see what we're up to. We haven't fully integrated the brand. That kind of stuff's all coming. It's only been about a year. So you can go to findawayvoices.com if you're a creator or author and you want to learn how to make an audiobook, distribute your audiobook, get it for sale in a bunch of places, get it on Spotify. But then keep an eye out on some stuff coming very soon, and then some really amazing stuff coming in 2024 around Spotify and creators. And we are going to become a destination for audiobooks. So we're pretty excited about that, and a destination for creators to have their audiobooks as well. It's gonna be awesome.
November 8th. I'm excited about it. So, all right, brother. Well, I will let you go. I appreciate you taking some time out of your day to.
Congrats, man. Has the feedback been amazing? I'm sure it has.
Well, they just told me I hit #1 on Amazon. So tell your friends.
I did.
Couldn't have seen that coming in a million
man.
years. Yeah.
Congratulations. I'm pumped for you. I love the message of the book. I love your heart behind it, and sort of where you're going, with the project and what you're doing is amazing. There's an authenticity to it, which I think is very attractive to folks, and people want that authenticity, and man, you deliver on it. So I'm excited for you.
Thanks, brother. It was good seeing you.
Yeah, buddy.
All right. Take care.
Yeah.
Oh man, that was fun. So haven't seen Ralph in such a long time. I was so happy you reached out. So, great guy, great family. So I want to talk to you guys. We're kind of getting towards the end here, and I get to bring on rock star Terry, who was so nice to give me the phonetic spelling of her name. There was no emojis, but it was trout, like the fish, and wine, like you drink. And she's awesome. She was one of the very first people I was introduced to at EF Tours. And to give you some background on, maybe I don't tell you how I got in contact with EF, but it was kind of crazy, at least in my world. I had this idea. I want to send 1 million kids abroad. And so I messaged the CEO on LinkedIn, and I don't recommend you do that. He'll kill me. But I messaged the CEO and said, hey, I've got this idea. I am this crazy person, and this is what I want to do. And he wrote me back, and he introduced me to Lori Van Dam. And now I will get to see Lori maybe in Paris on the 22nd. So we're super grateful we got invited to be at Hall Prize. So if you guys haven't ever looked at Hall Prize, it is hallprize.org, Terry, I think is what it is. But I want to talk a little bit, and I'll bring Terry on. I'll let her introduce herself. But when I came to EF, and I want here, Nicole, are you? Yeah, let's get Nicole in here too. So Nicole is the CEO of Send a Student Leader Abroad. So Terry, why don't you introduce yourself first, just where you're calling from, kind of what your role is at EF, and then I'm going to give people a little bit of background on how we got connected and what the mission is, and then I know you've got some exciting stuff you want to share just that EF's doing kind of worldwide. So fire away.
Yeah. So hi, Nicole. Hi, Roderick. Super excited to see you both. I'm calling in from our Boston office, which is our U.S. headquarters. Our international headquarters is in Zurich, Switzerland. I am a senior director. So what that means is I work with all of the educators, all of the schools. My teams work with all the educators and schools that are east of the Mississippi River. And so our goal always is to get students abroad. We believe when students travel the world, they come back kinder, more empathetic, right? They seek to understand instead of deciding something is right or wrong. They learn to listen and become global communicators. So we believe the more students that we get abroad, the better the world is. And super excited to partner with Roderick and Nicole to get 1 million students abroad in the next several years.
Yeah. So thank you so much for that intro. Let me give you some background. I was really quick because this could be a 3-hour story. I was that kid who I was 13 years old, and my mom knew I needed to go on this trip. I was not destined for any kind of super amazing life. We'll just put it that way. And my parents, we didn't grow up with a lot of money. My parents didn't have the money to send me. And I distinctly remember my mom and dad arguing about spending the money to send me on this EF tour that was in between 7th and 8th grade. And ultimately I went, and it completely changed my worldview as a young teenager that, there is no them, there's only us. And when you stay in your hometown, or even when you stay in the States, you don't get that perspective. And it changed my trajectory for the rest of my life. It not only gave me that compassion and the empathy for other people, but it inspired my love of travel. And, you know, we're in Austria right now. We were in Switzerland last week, so I just missed you, I think, in Switzerland. But it's something that if you don't have that experience, you can't get it any other way. You have to be there. And ultimately, that's why we decided this is what we wanted to do. That's why I had the crazy idea and sent that message one fateful day on LinkedIn, and how I got connected with you. So for people who don't know, everything we do is donated. So the book, the courses, the journal, everything that $1 Million Flip Flops does is donated to the foundation. And the foundation partners with Terry and EF ultimately to send these kids abroad and give them that experience. So what we aim to do is really why it's called Send a Student Leader Abroad is, you know, the teacher can identify who these kids are. They can apply. It's sometimes school specific, but the general idea is they can apply. It's a matching grant, and we step in and can provide the funds for somebody that wouldn't otherwise be able to go on this trip. And just like I was when I was 13. And my idea is that not only does this kid have this experience and change his worldview, he takes that experience back to a community that might otherwise not be having that conversation. So it's an exponential effect. And I've told folks that bought the book, especially the founding donors. I don't know if you saw the founding donors page, Terry, on Sasla, but like these folks that are buying 100 books to give them out. You know, I'm like, you just sent a kid. You know, so it's just so powerful. And I just, you know, I get a little weepy talking about it, and we're still in the building stages of it. So I'll stop yapping. I'm good at yapping. Right. And tell the audience, I know you shared a story with me earlier. You can maybe share that, or maybe just some of the other programs and things you have going on. What's EF about? Just, you know, if people haven't seen the guy riding the bike with the crazy outfit and know what the name is, tell them what it's about.
Yep. So I love the story you just told about sending that student leader abroad and having them come back, and changes them, but also their community. So if you look on any of our logos, you'll see it kind of looks like a little ripple effect that flows out from the middle of the EF. And that's actually 65 years ago when they founded, they created that as part of the logo. So like anyone who travels, you come back change better, and then that ripple effect goes out. And like, I wouldn't say that we could owe all of your success and this cool thing to that trip, Roderick, but it was definitely probably part of the ripple that brought you to where you are, which is why you believe in it so much. And we're so excited. For those of you who don't know EF, we have 4 different pillars of our business. And under each of those pillars are different companies. So we have our academics, we have international high schools, universities, MBAs all over the world. So that's pillar 1. Pillar 2, we have exchange programs. So think of au pair, high school exchange, college exchange programs. Then we have 3 is our language schools. So we have language schools in more than 85 countries around the world that are teaching English or vice versa, the language in that country. And then finally, we have the tours division, which is what I work for. So within the tours division, we have educational tours, which eftours.com, if you ever want to check it out, is anywhere from a 7 to a 15-day student tour. So we partner directly with educators and school districts who want to bring this as part of their curriculum if they're looking to create global citizens, which we all know 80% of the jobs we'll need in 10 years don't exist today. So all this entrepreneur piece is like what we need to establish and grow. And we have a bunch of information that I shared, and I think the links might go out here, but it shows how travel gets people ready for jobs that don't exist today. How do you think on your feet? How do you communicate across cultural lines? How do you spend time with one another? So what we do on educational travel is we give students again, 7 to 15-day tour that they take with their educator, other students from across the United States, and they're able to go and grow in this area. And we believe they come back changed people who are more confident and more independent, understand more about the world around them, and understand different places and cultures better than they did before. So it's kind of a high EF overview. Did I get you what you needed there?
No, I think you nailed it.
Great.
I'm always impressed at how huge of a company EF is. And when you mention it, and I usually use the term, it's a $7 billion company, and I think it's somewhere north of $7 billion. And just to have the support that I've had for something that isn't real yet is one of those, like, I always say I'm beside myself with gratitude that I know you or A House or any of the other people. It's just everyone has been so wonderful, and I just can't thank you enough for your support and for taking some time out of your busy day to come on here and just share a little bit more about what EF's about. So where would you tell people to go other than just, what one place would you tell people to go if you had that one website where they're going to go, damn, this is amazing? Is that one of the links you shared?
It's one of the links I shared. So I sent a link about one of our travelers, and we'll often feature travelers who go make a really great difference. And so the story with the link, one of our travelers, and someone gave her a camera when she went on tour, and someone taught her on tour how to use the camera. And she has since she's spoken to our company. She's been a part of it. She's been on film. She's snapped for National Geographic. This one moment and somebody giving her a chance really found this passion that touches so many people around the world now. So I think that's one of the incredible inspirational stories that we have. So you can check that link out. And then if you want to see the types of places we can go, the things we can do, if you go to eftours.com, you'll see we have middle school, high school, we have STEM tours, we have service learning tours. It's kind of a spectrum. We have a student leadership summit, which is all about leadership skills and capacity. So all of those are there, and I would suggest check it out and keep following Roderick. He knows us all. He can get it.
Thank you so much, Terry. I will let you go. Say hello to the gang for us.
Thank you,
Terry.
Thanks. See you next week.
All right. So fun fact, that first trip I went on, we went to London, France, UK, France, and Italy. And right now, almost exactly 30 years later, I started in Rome. Terry invited us to Paris for a Holt Prize, so I'll get to go to France. And I am very purposely leaving out of London so that I have went backwards on the same trip I did 30 years ago. So so fortunate to have the folks at EF as part of my circle. So guys, unless it's 2 hours now, I'm completely losing my voice no matter how much coffee I drink. Unless there's Q&A and I can answer any questions for anybody, I think for both of us, I just want to say how grateful we are. This day, I could not have imagined in a million years that I would be in Austria talking to amazing people all over the world and be launching a book, which we just found out hit #1 on Amazon. So again, walk through every open door with a big enough why anyhow as possible. So if there's no questions, I'm going to leave you all with that, and I'm going to press end stream. Go buy the book. It's not for me. It's for the kids. And just thank you so much for hanging out with us for a few hours.